Wait,
How'd you?
Steve, Uncle, I have another question. How did you guys find Bindu and Gyan Tamang? Tamang.
Who was the second one?
Bindu and Gyan.
No, oh, Bindu. That was Denny. Denny. There was a giant flood in Damuli in Soti Pasal. Am I saying that right? It was on the river because we did that trip a little bit before that. We started in Kalamati with a huge team. We did a clinic there, and then we took this trail. It's still there. They built steps, and we took this trail and we went up along this mountain bridge. And for a week, we went from village to village to village. Big screen, big projector, hundreds and hundreds of Bibles, doctors, the whole bit. It was crazy. And then we came down way on the other side in Damuli. It was epic. And somehow, Denny, when we heard about the flooding, Denny was either going or he went over there before that, and he actually met the prime minister, the second guy in control. What do you call him? Assistant prime minister or something, whatever you call him. He was the second guy to the prime minister who landed in a helicopter, and Denny went up and introduced himself, and they got talking, and that's when they were screaming about they're finding people in the mud, and they're finding people, and it was either Bindu or Bindu's brother. Gyan. I have pictures. Denny actually took him out of the dirt. Wow. Pulled him out. It was crazy. Denny was there just as it was happening, and then he brought Bindu and Gyan back to Kathmandu. I have pictures of them sitting in the car. Gyan looked scared to death. So that's how that happened. He came back to Kathmandu and got them settled.
Gyan,
You should
Rupa,
say
and
Gyan, Rupa, and Bindu.
When Dennis went with you on that trip, you didn't know it, but he was a new believer.
Oh, I knew he was a new believer, yeah, but
I didn't think you
knew.
knew.
I was at Calvary when he walked down the aisle one night. I thought he was coming down to beat us up.
Dennis?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Gave his life to the Lord and then quit the mafia.
Wow.
So that's how we found him. That was all Denny. I had nothing at all to do with that. How did Padam come in the picture? Well, Denny was there. We found out Shashi messed up big time. I remember Denny had a phone. Ever tell you a story? He had a phone. he had Shashi.
I don't know.
He had Shashi on the second floor of the new building. It was halfway out the window. And he had me on the phone. And I heard Shashi squealing. Yeah, I'm going to throw him out, Stevie. I'm going to throw him out. I said, no, Denny, don't throw him out. Hang on, Denny. You just show him to the front door and tell him we're done. And I think we had Thapa then. So I only knew Narayan Sharma from GFA. I had met him once or twice because KP O'Hannon called me a year before and said, can I send my son Danny with you on a trip? And his son Danny went with us on that crazy trip of all trips, the one that started in Kalamati and landed in Soti Pasal. That was epic. That was one of the best trips ever. So that's how I got to know KP. And through KP, Danny came with us and I met Narayan Sharma. So when Shashi came near death and we put him out on the street, I called Narayan and Narayan said, I have just a guy for you. So I said, okay, I'm coming back over again. I think I had 5 trips that year or something. I said, I have to look at my passports. 59 trips to Nepal.
59.
One more, 59. So 1.1 million miles, I calculated out. So I got this strange guy, Padam Tamang, and I landed and I was going to go and meet Narayan at GFA headquarters. And I got off the jet, got my luggage, went out to try to figure out how I'm going to get a cab. And there was some guy pulling on my shoulder. I said, leave me alone. I got my own stuff. And it was Padam trying to take my stuff to help me. I said, get away from me. My name is Padam Tamang. I said, oh, okay, you. And that's how I met him.
Wait, Steve, Uncle, can you tell us about first dozer, bulldozer?
Oh, the dozer.
Sure.
That John
Oh,
Uncle.
wow.
Yeah, it was 2000. Because we didn't have any churches yet, and Shetman Shrestha was still the VDC chairman in Gorka. So I became good buddies with him. He was a pretty interesting cat. So it had to be 2000. So John Peter's dear friend Bud died and left John this DC-9, this monster beast. Did you remember seeing it?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, that's what it was. Shetman Shrestha sent me a message when I was in Nepal. That's what it was. I was staying at the Narayani Hotel. And he didn't send me a message, he came to see me. I was staying at the Narayani. How he knew that, I don't know. Now that's gone. That's a shopping store there. You know where I'm talking about?
Yep.
We always stayed there.
Northside Market is.
Yeah. I used to always stay there. I always stayed in the same room. I knew everybody. And he came, and we're sitting in the lobby, and he introduced himself. And his English was like not too good. I couldn't understand him. And he said, talking, maybe 5 minutes. I said, so, okay, so how can I help you, or can you help me? Like, why? He says, well, I'm here because I need a bulldozer from America. That's what I said. I said, oh, you mean like shovels and things? That's what you mean, like a big shovel? Is that what you're talking about, big shovels? He's like, no. He's a big man. He's a big man. He looked like one of the Italian guys. What was that Italian show?
Sopranos.
He looked like one of the Sopranos. He looked like Tony from the Sopranos. He did. And he was really hard of hearing. I mean, he had like, so he says, no, we want a bulldozer. I said, I can't get a bulldozer here. He said, yeah, you can get a bulldozer from America. He said, we are asking you for a bulldozer. Please, we don't have roads. I said, are you serious? I said, I didn't know what to say. I said, okay, I'll figure it out when I get home. I'll let you know. So we shared contact information. And I got home, and just then, right around that time, John Peter's good buddy, Bud, died and left him at DC-9. And John put all new pins in it and did all this work, and we sent it to this place, and then we painted it. We painted it somewhere, a little group of us. I remember Dave Higgins was in on it. We painted it yellow. And then in the meantime, I went to USAID, the Denton Agreement. Geez, I forgot all about this. And the USAID, the United States Government for International Development, I said, hey, I'm going to ship a bulldozer to Nepal. I need like $7,000. Where is it? I said, well, I don't know. I said, I'll put it wherever you want it. Well, give us the address. You fill out all the papers, and we'll look at it, and blah, blah, blah. And like a month went by, and they sent me a thing, okay, money's here. I was like, what? So I called. This is crazy. Nobody would believe this. So I went through the yellow pages. We didn't have Google. I went through the yellow pages, and I saw I can't even remember their name, something shipping company down on Delaware Avenue. I called them up. I said, hey, I got a bulldozer I want to send to Nepal. She's like, what? I said, I got a bulldozer I want to send to Nepal. She said, all right. She said, we can get it as far. She called me back like days later. We can only get it as far as Calcutta in India. They went all the way around the other side with this thing. She said, then we have to put it on a truck. And we have to truck it across India and up to Nepal. And she told me through Roxwell, she knew, she was looking, into Kathmandu. And I said, well, it's not going there. It's going Gorka, blah, blah, blah. I gave her all the, she said, okay. Oh, we had to have somebody meet them when they crossed the border. It may have been Padam at that point.
Krishna?
Krishna or Padam. Don't you know, they chained it.
You were there to meet it.
John and I were there to meet it. But somebody had to meet him and bring the truck up. And the truck kept breaking down, and this thing was a monster. They put it on a Tata truck. Did you believe it? The whole thing was hanging off. The front of the Tata truck was up here. So it finally comes. They chained it to a deck of a ship. they chained the thing down and floated it all around the earth through storms. I could just the waves breaking over it. And Jen, the truck came in, and John and I remember John, he was just like a little 5-year-old kid with the Christmas tree. He couldn't believe it was Bud's bulldozer. I thought he was going to cry. He was just so happy. And the district, Chetman Shrestha, hired a kid, and the kid was there, and John spent at least 2 days training him. In fact, part of the training process was they put in a whole parking lot at this DDC center. It was all like rocks and everything. John had it like smooth like a pancake. They were all like drooling. This big giant thing. So it would, of course, it wouldn't start. John has to go get starting fluid. He's taking a carburetor apart. Probably had seawater in it. So then he finally gets the thing to roar. Backs it off the truck, and that was it. They had. Now here's the killer part.
They gave him a name too.
What's that?
They gave John a name.
Yeah, bulky man. But here's the killer part. They didn't know what we were doing in Nepal specifically. They knew we were believers. Chetman didn't care. He got a bulldozer. He's a hero. The people are like worshiping him. He's got a nice bulldozer. And now, this was a little bit later, because we were working in North Gorka near Gampasal, above Gampasal in Aripokare. This was later. So this was a few years later. And Denny and I and Padam took a Jeep to Arugat. And I had a broken foot. I broke my foot in a motorcycle race. And I was walking with one of them things on. And we went to Arugat, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, don't tell me. And he said, yeah, boss, it's right. We're trying to get to Aripokare. Because we were there on a previous trip, but we went around the other way through Gampasal because there was a nice walking trail. And Denny and I were sitting around this tree and looking up. You know what? I'm sorry. I wasn't there. It was Denny was there. And I don't even know what he was doing out there. No, I forget what we were doing. I may have sent him. And he sat around this tree, and he looked up on this little knoll, went up about 200 feet and on a flat thing up there. And I take it back. I was there with him. I remember it. And we were looking, and I said, Denny, this place is going to be a clinic. And I went up there and I looked and I stood on the ground and I said, we're going to put a clinic here. And that was one of the best clinics we ever had. So the months later, it was either built or almost built, and we were going to see it with Padam. And for some reason, we didn't go the other way through Gorka City and up through Gampasal. We came up across the bridge at Dading and went up to Arugat, and we had to climb up this mountain. It was brutal. We kept climbing and climbing. We didn't make it. Finally, we stayed in some little village. I mean, it was an insane climb, walk up, and it was a climb. I had a broken foot. And so we finally got there. We overnighted, and the next day we went up, and there was the clinic. It was beautiful. I don't know why. What was that? What was that?
Doesn't matter. It's a good story.
Yeah, that's good.
What
That's
about
kind of stuff we're looking
the heart cath? Remember that big machine?
Yeah, that
when
was
they
like,
started doing heart.
that was
open
like,
heart.
they did the first kidney cath ever in Nepal. That was weird. That was another
I
mind blow.
remember a picture of a machine that they
It
were
was
bringing in.
huge. Yeah, it was huge.
They had to get a crane. I was there. They had to get a crane to get it off of the truck.
What year did you go there?
I moved there in 2006, but I was there that day.
But-
I was with the team.
But what year was that? It was about 6, right? It was early. You were just there.
I may have been with the team visiting. I'm not sure if I was there.
Yeah. I would think it was earlier.
Yeah, it was definitely
That
earlier,
was
yeah.
weird.
When did you start going?
I started going 2001, January 2001.
Oh, so you were earlier. So the doc came and got me somewhere. I think he came to the hotel. I don't know how. But I remember he always wore like a scarf. He was always like a David Niven guy. You know? He just had to, every once in a while he'd have the little thing there, then it would shave it off. I couldn't figure him out.
I thought it was a heart operation.
No, that was Domador Pocarel. No, this cat, and it went in the B&B hospital.
B&B hospital, yeah.
But he always had,
Yes,
Or
it was
Boston
Buscoda.
he always had that thing under. And he came to me and he said,
One of those.
we need a cath lab. We need a cath lab. We need a cath lab. I'm like, what? And I remember I went back to the bookstore. And I went through the yellow pages or something. And the first one I came to, I don't think we had internet. I'm not sure. And the first one we went to was a place outside of Chicago, used medical equipment or something. And I called them up and I said, I'm running a nonprofit. I'm doing this work. I'm just looking around for a free cath lab. The first call. The guy says, I got one here.
For free.
I said, what? He said, yeah. He says, we're having a problem with the motherboard. It's a Motorola. I said, did you say Motorola? He said, yeah, I think Motorola. I said, that's no problem. He said, do you want it? I said, does everything else work? He says, it works great. It's a dual monitor stuff. I said, stop. I don't even know what you're talking about. I said, I just want to know if it works. And you have to go?
No.
So I said, I'll take it. He says, how are you going to get it? I said, I don't know. I'll call you back and let you know. So here I got this state-of-the-art cath lab with a bad motherboard and a computer. So I called Jim Worth, who works for Motorola, and he works in that world. I said, this is the thing. He said, that's no problem. I'll get you one. Boom! And in another month, I had the motherboard. I was sitting looking at it. Not even a month, 2 weeks. So I called Vernon Stolfus in Lancaster. I said, Vernon, do me a favor. I said, are you up in Chicago much? He said, yeah, we go through it all the time. I said, can you stop and pick up a cath lab for me? He said, a what? I said, a cath lab. Sure, Stevie, I'll get the cath lab. And he got the cath lab and brought it back, and we offloaded it and put it in Calvary's warehouse. Somewhere. Where did I put it? Yeah, you put it in Calvary. I remember we put it because it wasn't all built yet, but it was getting ready to be built. And I put it back all the way in the back, and I had to get it out. And then we called the same trucking place again. Oh, John Steer, Steer, that's what it called, freight. And I got more money from USAID and put it in the thing and sent it over. And this cat from B&B got it all hooked up. And he did the very first kidney cath and saved this cat's life.
Wow.
It was in the paper.
You know what? I think it was around 2006, 2007, only because my stuff that I shipped over was on that container also, I think.
And you know what? It wasn't at Calvary, Philly. It was at Al Icon's. I kept it at Al Icon's. That's right. I'm pretty sure. We had a ton of stuff up
Yeah,
in his
so I think it was around 2006, 2007.
That's amazing.
And then you had medical supplies at the warehouse at CPS too.
Yeah, how'd you get the warehouse?
That's later.
On 2002, the beginning, I was doing announcements at Calvary, Philly, and I said to Joe, I really need room. He says, you need room, you got to get this stuff out of here. So we would both announce every week, whoever was doing it. I was doing it one week. I said, I just need a little bit of room. If you have a warehouse facility and you can spare some room, I need some room. We have supplies for missions, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't 2002, it was 2000, 2001. And right after the service, Wayne Schaefer came down. And he said, I have a place in Ivyland. I said, you say Ivyland? That's right up the street. He said, yeah, it's right up the street. He said, I got a little bit of room. You can have a wall. It'll fit maybe 7, 8 pallets. I said, thank you so much. And that's when I met him. He says, when do you want to come up? Whatever. So I showed up and he shows me the wall. That week, I got a monster offer of stuff. Blew it right out. But don't you know, just after that, he bought that building on Titus and gave me the middle section and rented the back out. Then he needed the middle section, and the guy that was renting was crazy anyway, so they kicked him out and they gave me that. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. And that some years, I think my biggest year was $11 or $12 million of product.
Wow.
$1 million a month, in and out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Deep Boker came out of nowhere. She showed up. Oh, get out of the way.
Well, she helped you at
She was helping me when we had the
Calvary
little room. When Joe gave me
Yeah.
the little room, he gave me a little room this size.
It was now it's probably a classroom, but yeah, Deep Oak. Or
I remember.
I heard.
Deeper, yeah.
I think she's back in Pennsylvania.
She is, yeah. She's in
I
Happar.
have to go see.
And then Wayne went in 2003 with me to Nepal. And then he went back in 08 with Gene, Pat and I and Gene. And he's been plugged in tight ever since. Yep, 20 years.
Wow.
And to talk about,
I got a good slug.
I guess
She can ask questions.
Just
Who was in
remembering
charge?
the
Who was in charge of PUMA in the beginning? We know that. How did Padam come in the picture? Why did you name the Bible Training Center after John Peters? Because when John died in 17,
Yeah.
he left me PUMA, the barn and the house. Did you know that?
I did not.
He left that in his will to PUMA. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So we were about ready to list it. I had an assessment on it, and Quakertown government came and called me up and said, are you now the owner of that? I said, I'm not the owner. It's in an estate. It was given to us. We're going to sell it, and I'm going to take the proceeds and put it directly into ministry, Christian ministry in Nepal, as John Peters wanted me to do. And he said, well, we're very interested. I said, oh, really? What was that cat's name? Can't think of his name. Crazy, in a good way. So he said, did you get it assessed? I did. And I told him what it was worth. And he said, well, get it assessed again. And then I'll pay for that. And then we're going to have our assessor come out. They got a very favorable number. I said, it's a done deal. He said, well, you have to tear it down. I said, well, don't you want it up? He said, no, we need that land because we want to extend a highway over. He said, you have to tear it down. I said, no, I'm not tearing it down. I'm going to sell it as is and let whoever is stinks anyway. He said, okay, I'll call you tomorrow. They raised the number to cover the tearing down. A nice deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I called around. I tried to sell the lumber from the farmhouse, but nobody wanted it. It was all bent and whacked out and everything. So they came. I was leaving for Nepal, and the day of settlement, and Rick Ventresco, I signed over power of attorney to him. He went and did the whole dealing for me, and I was on the jet to Nepal. It's crazy. So we took all that funding was in the bank. When I got in Nepal, I looked. Like just a few days later, it was in there. It was a lot of money. All that money went, that's what built that place.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what built
John wanted the gospel.
Yeah.
And he got it.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Now.
It is awesome. And there was money left over, and I put it right into building churches.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
look at that. Look at that building. We stopped building churches, right around 16, because we didn't have men. It was that simple. Mm-hmm. And we were making the mistake of putting men. They were doing a good job, but they just didn't know enough. They should have known more. Which now, thank God, Suman recognizes that, and we talked about that. That's why we have this thing called the module class, and we're just that's never going to end. And them guys love it because they're feeling better about their knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not sure, but I think we do. I think we have 33 or 34 students that graduated from there and they're in the field as pastors. And what we have now, 12 or 14 now, I think, that are going to go out in less than a year.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We didn't have men. And because of his gifting, we're going to have almost 50 guys in the field. It's amazing.
Well equipped.
Just totally equipped.
Yeah.
No, Bikram, he's begging to buy the land next door, which is not going to happen. But Padam calls them sister churches. He's already got 2 or 3 sister churches.
Yeah.
Like that cat's out. And Man Bahadur in Beshi, he's going to be the same way.
Yeah.
Guys are on fire. Marcus in Barpack.
Mm-hmm.
Great. 2000 to 2015 has been children's home, medical clinics, and building churches in the village. Now 2017. Till now, it's more Bible training center, building churches, and radio programs. How would you describe the ministry, and how did you notice the changes in these ministries? I don't know how to describe the ministry other than the way you ended your question. Now, it's more Bible training, it is, building churches, it is, and radio programs. That's all we do. How would you describe the ministry, and how do you notice the changes? The changes are, through time, this is the way it's evolved. I think it's the plan of God. I assume that it is. It seems to be working. Mm-hmm. I wish we could develop the radio ministry more, and I wish we could get some kind of feedback. I don't know how. How do you get feedback on the radio ministry in that country?
I don't know.
I don't know either. So I'm not sure if the investment is really wise. So this is a little bit hard to believe, but for me. So a year ago, I said to Raj and to Padam, contact every radio station manager. We're on 27. Some of them are on twice a day, as you see. I think two or three are on twice a day. Contact the radio manager and get them to do a really good analysis and try to do a finding on how many people do they think are listening to the program. Did you see that report?
No.
Do you know what they came back? I said, don't cook the numbers. Don't inflate them. Don't deflate them. Tell me exactly what you think. This is from the station managers, not from Raj and Padam. They think 2 million people a day listen.
How many?
2 million.
I think it's too many.
Yeah.
2 million. Wow.
2 million.
Wow.
Then I think, are they telling us that because we want to stay on the station? Are they being nice to us? Or so I'm thinking, even if it is 1 million, that's staggering.
Mm-hmm.
That's staggering.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they calculate that, so I hope it's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But there's a lot of good fruit that comes from the radio station that we know of, like the calls that Raj gets, and it may not be a lot of people calling, but there are people that are listening, and ministries come out of that.
Good. Yeah. And he needs to tell me more of that. He doesn't give me enough on that. I have to pry information out. But like when he gets calls, like at the end of the month, I'd like to see like a little log or something. Or he doesn't give me a bit. She called about this, or he called. Like Padam said, there's a lot of church people that listen, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. But I would really like it to be more centric for the non-believer. Anyway, how would you describe me? You've been in Nepal so many times. What do you look forward to when you go? Actually, one of the big things I look forward to is Dalbat in Mugling. At Rupes.
Mugling.
Yeah.
Can you take me next time?
Maybe. I look forward to being in the mountains in Namjung. Anywhere up there. That's my place. I love it.
That's where ministry is.
The ministry's there, but I just like sitting on a rock, especially when the sun's going down.
Oh yeah.
Or the sun's coming up. Yep. That's what I like about it. You about this supposed to be allowed through PUMA. What is your vision for PUMA and through PUMA? Where do you see PUMA 10 years from now? That's the
25 years.
That's the $1 million question. You still like chow chow?
That's the bonus question.
I haven't had chow chow in like 10 years. You should bring me some.
I remember.
Denny and I used to eat that. I think that might be what done him in. He used to eat that with Snickers and coffee. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, the chow chow, and we put all the. You gonna use that? No, you take it.
The seasoning.
Yeah, we eat it raw.
We eat it raw.
Yeah.
We eat it raw, and then chug down a liter of water. It's like, whoa, man, this stuff's blowing up in your gut.
I remember earlier year, like you would come and you let me talk to your mom, and you would have, like when the phone's ringing and he's talking to his mom before you let me talk to your mom, you would have a chow chow like crunching in his pocket. I think 2004 is last time I talked to her.
Yeah, she died in 05. Let's see. Yeah, she died in 05, right? When did I get the surgery on my arm? I think that was 05. No, she died in 05. It was right because I got surgery right around there. In my eye. They took cancer out of my arm. I remember.
2004 was the last time I talked.
Yeah, I think she died in 05.
Because I was sleeping and he came.
I know it was in the wintertime. It was near your birthday when she died. I'm pretty sure it was January.
Yeah. It was.
Every time you come to Nepal, you would let me talk to her. That's nice.
So, as we finish up, where do you see PUMA 10 years from now? I don't know. You know, I'm actively always trying to find a successor for me. Somebody who, you know, it has to be somebody who knows Nepal. It can't be just some guy who likes missions. That won't work. Somebody has to really understand the culture. Somebody has to really get to know Padam Tamang. And they have to get along really, really good. Not that he's not hard to get along with. He's easy to get along with. So that's a difficult thing to find.
And he's getting up there too.
Yeah. Because people think, you know, when you're the director of a nonprofit, you know, you get like a lot of perks. You got a lot of bennies. There's no perks. There's no. I got a cell phone, and I think, and the pay is okay. I mean, they think they're going to come in and, you know, make $100,000 a year or something. They're out of their mind.
Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, where's the guy who knows Nepal and wants to do this? I don't know where he's at.
Praying for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep praying.
No, I had a couple people, and you know, we talked about things, and I've talked to Jeff Jackson, and there's some key people here that know. Not that I'm quitting, but somebody should really be good. So if I croak today, what would happen? Well, you got Leo, and you should know this. You have Leo who knows everything about all the money. He's got everything in paper, in QuickBooks, and everything else. And then you got Harris, who would probably be really good at helping with direction. And you have a guy like Eddie who could jump in for a year or so till the right person's found. So it's safe that way. But where's the long-term guy 10 years from now? Good luck. You're probably looking right at him. Sitting in the same chair 10 years from now. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, Gary, it's
Before I forget.
yeah, Gary, it's 2033. Nothing's changed. Call me back in 2043. I'll be sitting in the same chair.
Yeah, what's your question?
Okay, so you should, well, maybe you should expound, like when you started going over to Nepal, you and your Harris and all, I don't know if Harris was involved, but you decided the way to begin there was with the health clinics. And then down the road, then you
Well, that was
decided to start the churches. And then, you know, and then remember when you mentioned Tom Bowman? When he went to Tom Bowman's church, we met Pastor Miner, and he prayed over Steve, and he says, one day you're going to be on the radio.
Wow.
You're crazy.
And we're thinking, and then the radio program. I mean, that was a long time ago when you met with Pastor Miner.
Yeah, I still have that letter somewhere. I don't know where that is.
Yeah, he
It's
has
upstairs
He has everything somewhere. But where
I
is
know,
it?
we have to go through his boxes.
Yeah.
And the pictures too, all the
like,
pictures.
where is it,
I'll
Steve?
scan them. I'll give them back to you. Just let me scan them.
I don't think you get picked the box
The only
up.
thing is, they're not in any order.
It's
It doesn't matter. We
Yeah.
still want them.
Yeah. Well, that's
I'll
why
get
we
them.
were just talking tonight that we got to go through all
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when we did the initial trip, Eddie LaGuardia, February of 97, I took the medical team back. And it was crazy because the second night, we strung up this giant screen between two trees. And I couldn't believe all the people that came out. Because people didn't have this. They didn't even have dishes yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was hundreds and hundreds. We ran out of Bibles the first night. We had no idea. The second night, we put the same movie back up. It was the Jesus movie. And we fast forwarded to where he's coming off the Sea of Galilee, and he meets the crazy guy, Mark 5. Right, so what you want with me? Right? And he puts the demons into the swine and the deviled ham. They go over the cliff.
Deviled ham.
So it's pretty amazing. The amazing thing is, he was the first missionary. Think about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
To Nepal?
To the world.
Wow.
He was the first missionary sent
yeah.
out in the New Testament.
Yeah.
In 15 minutes, he went from a guy who was cutting himself, bound in chains, out of his mind, naked, crazy, with messed up hair, to a guy who was normal, sitting on a rock and clothed. And he knew a good thing. He said, I'm coming with you. And Jesus said, no, I want you to go up here to the Gadarenes, go up there and tell them what happened. One of the few times he says, go and tell. He usually tells them, don't tell them what happened, because they'll find out. So go up there and tell them. Historians tell us that right around that time, right after that, there was a huge revival in that place.
Wow.
Because here comes the crazy guy with a King James Bible,
Yeah.
talking the truth, right? Yeah, it's amazing.
And they all knew him.
They all knew him. They all knew, but not know what. He knew their names. He was normal, and here he was preaching the gospel. Very first guy. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So they sent us over. We did the health camp. We had the movie. The second night, the police came. I remember they had them old guns, World War I guns. KC came up. He said, "Are you the leader?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm the leader." And the movie's playing. Mm-hmm. Big movie. And it was Glenn Goss was the sound guy. And Glenn Goss.
Goss.
And we're playing the movie, and
That's
police.
Rory Rigler's brother.
No, not Glenn Goss. Glenn.
Goffin?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenn Goss.
I've been Goffin.
Yeah. And wow. And he came up and he said, "You mind if we stay?" I said, "Yeah, sure." No, they're all crouched down. They're with their guns, and they're all watching the movie. Like 10 cops. I'm like, no, this is nuts. Nobody would believe this. And I became dear friends with that guy. Yeah, up till just a few years ago when he stopped. We lost.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at. He was way down in. He was way down. Where was Buddha born? In Lumbini. He was down there somewhere. So anyway. Yeah, so we did that for 3 years with Simon Peter, and in 2000 we opened up a clinic. That was another bargaining deal. We opened up a clinic, this big 3-story building that's still there, and I bargained. We finally got it for $15 a month. 15. I kept telling him, there's no indoor plumbing. He's like, what's that? You use a bucket, man. And that was the first clinic, and from that clinic came Mutka's church. That's what it was. And then so I think there was 2 church. Then we moved across the street and we built with Harry Pant's brother. We built Dr. Arjan. We built a clinic up there. That took off pretty good. And from there came another church. And then in the meantime, we built a second clinic somewhere. And that was like 2 or 3 churches. Then we started realizing, hey, guess what? There's something's happening here. You build a church, you build a clinic, churches come. And that's how it started.
And then what about the pharmaceutical company?
What's that?
J&J used to donate all, and you got vitamins from someplace?
That was King Pharmaceutical. That was Cooper.
Oh yeah.
That was, what's his name, Cooper. Jeez, I forgot about these guys.
He died.
He did die.
That's
the story, man.
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
How did Pennsylvania United Medical Association come about?
I'll tell you how. And this is a bizarre. Do you know heard this story? A
No.
little bit.
Please tell it. Please tell it.
It was
Yeah.
it was the second year,
When was
and King Pharmaceutical and Marilyn from church worked for J&J or Merck, and she helped me get these carry-on medical packs. But King Pharmaceutical gave us $250,000 in medicines. And it was all over the counter. And we flew British Air. We flew British Air to London and got on the original Nepal Airlines. They were flying back then from UK. That was their longest
From
stretch.
UK.
From London.
Because we used to have to go to Bangkok sometimes.
They flew out.
Okay.
They flew out of London. We got to London, and we went from London to Nepal. And I remember the jet was like the doors were swinging open. When they would take off, all the luggage doors would open. And then the stewardess, she was dressed in Nepali. She'd just come back down, push everything back up, and the doors were flopping all over the place. Oh my gosh! So we landed on the tarmac, and we got off, but there's no goods. There's nothing. And the security people came in and got me and took me out to the tarmac. And I got everybody inside. They were like, we got our luggage, that's what it was, but we don't have any material. And they took me out, and it was a lot of stuff. I mean, it was a lot of stuff. Boxes and boxes and boxes. I forget how we paid for it. And they said, is this yours? I said, well, yeah. Where's your paperwork? Well, I don't have paperwork. We're doing it. What are you doing? You think you can just come in here and blah, blah, blah? I said, well, yeah, we're here to help the people. We have doctors, and this is the real deal. We're not going to, well, you know, and they just kept hollering at me and interrogating me. And they said, do you have anything that's narcotics here? I said, no. I said, it's just, look, I said, it's over the counter. It's pain relief, and there's Band-Aids and gauze, and there's some vitamins, and well, open that box. And don't you know, I opened the box, and it's cough medicine with codeine in it. Oh boy, the doll bot hit the fan. They were really upset with me. So I remember I had a PUMA jacket on. Oh no, I had PUMA sneaks on or something. And they're really hostile. They're really upset with me now. And I'm thinking, we're all going to go to jail and get in big incident. What's the name of your company or something? What's the name of your organization? And I'm looking, I'm thinking, Pennsylvania United Medical Association. That's how it happened.
What year was that?
98.
Wow.
Here's interesting. So he said, you have to go up the other end and pay the fee. I said, the other end of what? He said, the other end of the thing, all the way up there, there's this little tiny brick building. I said, what? He said, come on, get on a motorcycle. I said, you have to pay the fee. I said, oh, the fee. I went all the way up there, went in, him and a guy with a rifle, like they were shooting. But I said, I remember there was a little light bulb swinging. It was like a James Cagney movie. He said, the fee's $300. I said, what fee? He said, he's trying to get money out of me. I said, do I get a receipt? He said, no, you don't get a receipt. He says, you get your stuff back. So I peeled out $300. I said, not a good idea, but okay, we'll play your game. And I went back, and he said, you'll get your stuff, something. He like kind of blew me off. And it was late in the day, and that morning I woke up, and we were at the Narayani, and I called the American Embassy in Nepal. And I said, hi, I'm an American citizen, I'm in Kathmandu, and I have a really serious problem. They took my stuff at the airport and blah, 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 and I'm doing free medical work. And he said, okay, I got the guy you can talk to. And I forget his name, I think his name was Roy. And he was from, you know what, I'm mistaken, it was late in the afternoon. And I just called him, the same day, I called him. I think his name was Roy, and he was from Utah. And he said, oh, I'll take care of this for you. He said, let me tell you, you be at the Narayani, ready to go at 10 a.m. I'll have your product there. I said, whoa, I got right to the top, right? Next morning, I went to sleep happy. Next morning, 10 a.m., the embassy flag on the side of this truck, the emblem on the canvas, pulls in, and he got out. I said, wow, man, thank you so much. He said, we really appreciate the work that you're doing here. And I'm like, I'm starting to say, well, this guy Christian. And I'm thinking, yeah. I said, man, you're really nice. I said, you go to church here? He said, no, I go to church. He said, but I'm a Mormon. I'm from Utah. He said, but we really like what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Here's all your stuff.
Wow.
Boom. We took it off, put it in the bus. I mean, it was packed with an enormous amount of stuff. I said, thanks so much. He said, adios. Oh, he gave me his card. He said, call me anytime you want.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good story.
That was wild.
Any more questions?
Oh, yeah. Any more questions?
I don't think so.
Thank you for questioning. There's Fred.
Yeah.
And there's me.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Howdy, Gary.
Yeah.